Hello guys, welcome back. Another day, another activity that was supposed to be fun but will now not be fun because we're on NTI. Sorry. So what we're doing today, I have posted two things on Go Classroom. This, which has these pages, five or six different immigrant groups immigrating to the United States during this time period. And I also posted the stations that go along with it. So I realized that many of us cannot print at home, which is totally fine. But you can view these things at home and then just kind of like replicate it on your own paper. That's totally fine. So we were supposed to, in fun groups, go around and look at all these different immigrant groups and look at primary sources about them, listen to some of their music, look at pictures of them working and living in big cities in this time period, because we're talking about immigration, the push factors and pull factors, what pushed them out of their country, what pulled them to America, and what were their lives like when they came here. That's kind of what our whole topic is. In fact, I think topic 6.7 and 6.8, or maybe it's 6.8 and 6.9 are both focused on immigration. So we were going to really focus on this. I'm sorry it's going to be less fun with you at home, but here's the gist of what I need you to do. And I'm going to do a little bit with you so you realize what I'm kind of expecting. And this will be helpful to you on our quiz over 6.8, 6.9, something like that. That's about immigration. So these are basically notes, but primary source stations. So you would keep it in your binder, essentially. So you are going to be mostly writing, or no, not typing, because I want you to be able to use it on a quiz. So not typing, writing, things in these boxes. Let's say you can't print and you don't have access to a printer and you can't do that. Then all you got to do is recreate it like I have done here. And there's going to be 5 or 6 different immigrant groups that we're going to study. And so I just need you to have a little section to take general notes, a section to describe the location of where the immigrant groups immigrated to, their living conditions, types of labor, and social activities. And so I would just do this Russian immigration, Mexican-American immigration, that sort of thing. And I just have 2 or 3 sheets of paper. Probably not even that. Probably a front, a back, and another front is what it will take. So the first thing we're going to do is, before we even dive into the pictures, we're going to look at who we're talking about, Russian Jews, and we're going to read the little blurb, and then in the stations, it'll show you where they immigrated to. So I'm going to read this little blurb real quick. You can pause it, read it by yourself, and then welcome back. So the important things that I want to know about these people that I'm going to write down in my notes, or if you've printed this, just kind of highlight, is that it was mostly Russian Jews. They were pushed out of their country. So this is a push factor due to pogroms, which is kind of early, I think World War II ghettos leading into Holocaust concentration camps. This is the beginning of that against Jewish people, but this time in Russia. Threats of violence and living conditions in cities is what pushed them out. So they are leaving their country because of lack of opportunity and political violence there. And we have 3 million of them immigrating in this time period. So I've just kind of highlighted the important things. If you don't have this printed, then you would just read it on the slide and then come over here and write those things. So I'm going to write mostly Jewish, and I would write all the push factors that led them here. So I wrote my handwriting factors, and then I'd write all those things out, and then I'd write that roughly 3 million came. Wow, look at that 3. That was great. So that's where I would start. Then it asks me to color in the locations where Jewish migrants settled. So that is in the stations. Now we're switching to the stations. Here's the Jewish immigration station, and here's where they mostly settled. So you can tell a lot right here. And if you need to compare it to another U.S. map because you don't know your areas, this is the Chicago, Milwaukee area on the Great Lakes. This is your Boston area. This is your New York, New Jersey area. This is your Washington, D.C. area. So if you have, let me go back and find it. Sorry, in list scrolling. If you have this printed out, then you could just go over here and you could mostly here, a little bit here, like that. Or you can come over here if you don't have that, and you can write it out right here. The New England, Chicago, Milwaukee, that sort of thing. I don't remember how to spell Milwaukee. All right, so moving forward, now it was a little bit more fun part because you'll actually get to experience some of these immigrants' culture. There are, for each station, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 or 9 different pictures or songs or quotes. And I promise they're not boring, and I promise they're not long. I try to do as many pictures as possible of migrants in the cities that they migrated to in America. And you're going to try and ascertain from these things 4 different things that are on your little note sheet, either that you printed or recreated. Their living conditions. What sort of houses are they living in? Are they wealthy? Are they cramped? Where are these houses located? What sort of neighborhoods? Okay, types of labor. What sort of jobs are they working? Working conditions, pay, hours, environment they're working in, and social activities. And we're going to see a lot of these immigrant cultures try and hang on to who they are as a people, even though they've moved into a predominantly white culture area in America. So let me give you a little practice with this. I'm going to do 1 or 2 of them. Okay. So I see this picture, and it looks like 2 men. One of them looks like he's selling something to another man. It says Jewish peddler in New York City. So I see a few things I can ascertain from this picture. He's selling something in his hand, showing it to this gentleman. They are dressed similarly, which leads me to believe that Jewish people dressed like this. Neither of them have cut their beards, which could also maybe be it is, I'll go ahead and tell you. Many Hasidic Jews don't believe in the cutting of facial hair. And it kind of looks messy. It kind of looks like he's dumped out everything from his little bin to try and find this thing to sell to this guy. So I can ascertain a few things. They've kept some of their cultural values, wearing head coverings, not cutting facial hair. Their working conditions, types of labor, a peddler selling things on the street, not working for a big company. That's not to say all Jewish people did that, but this is an example of a job they could get. And think about the working conditions of working all the time outside trying to sell your wares on the street. You're going to encounter cold. You're going to encounter hot sun. You're going to get sunburnt. You're going to encounter ice. Look outside. So those are things I can ascertain from just this picture. Let me find another good one. Jewish boy reading the Torah in New York City. So he looks like some sort of priest, some sort of Jewish pastor maybe. And here's a little boy reading the Torah. And if you don't even know what the Torah is, it's a Jewish religious text. It's the first few books of of the modern Christian Old Testament. But even if you didn't know that, you would know the importance of this picture. This man looks like he's instructing this little boy in whatever is in this book. So it is important to them. This is a social activity. This is a piece of their culture that they've held on to. Let me try and find maybe 1 or 2 more. There's a song that I want you to listen to. Here's some like living and working conditions ones. This is a city street, a scene in the ghetto, Hester Street, 1902. You can tell types of labor going on here, working conditions, maybe even social activities. You can see apartments in the background. This one is really indicative of apartments. It's a little section of a book talking about how hot it is in the city apartments and how their windows faced other buildings. So you're going to be able to find a lot. But essentially, you're trying to gather as much knowledge about these immigrants' lives as you possibly can. And you're going to be inputting all of those things that we learned into either this, because you have access to a printer and you want to print it, and I would print it 2-on-1, guys. Like, don't waste paper. That's what I have them printed at school, but we're not doing this at school. Or you can do it on your own sheet of paper, which is probably honestly easier, and you won't waste as much paper that way. So gather those things up. I've posted the 2 slides, the notes packet part that you can replicate by yourself on your own paper, and the actual like picture stations part. And I'm sorry you're doing this by yourself. If you could snap a picture of what you did, post it online so I can give you participation points. But really the value of this is you are gaining more evidence about immigration that you will be able to use on upcoming quizzes and possibly maybe even upcoming activities or DBQs in class. Oops, dropped a hint. So just keep that in mind that this is like a form of notes. It was just supposed to be a little bit more fun. All right, thanks.